the fan following now that you have in India, there are these fan armies where the Indian fans who are happy on a given day when Rohit Sharma fails because they're a fan of a certain player. Fingers crossed, but what I'm hearing, I don't know what the long-term future of a Jasprit Bumrah is going to be. I'll go so far as to say if I was in Ashwin's place, I probably would have quit much earlier, saying, okay, fine. If this is how you're going to run the test team. The day I'm critical of Virat, I get branded as Rohit's PR, a Virat hater. The day I'm critical of Rohit, then I get branded as Virat lover and Rohit hater, and it just keeps going on.
There was no Pakistan representative, and there was a lot of controversy over that. How can the three of them lose the bite completely? Shaheen, Naseem, and Harris Roff. Do you think Rohit should continue as captain?
2027 World Cup, I definitely want to see him, but in Test cricket, I'm not sure.
So, who is your best bet to take over as Test captain?
Rishabh Pant.
Nikhil Naz, it's great to see you, and it's very thrilling to see you as well because I personally am very fond of the game cricket, and you are one of the famous sports anchors,
Thank
consulting
you.
editor, India Today. I welcome you to my show, the Vickey Lalwani Show, and
Thank you
let's
very much.
talk just cricket today.
Thank you very much for having me. I heard about you from some of my common friends. They said that I must come on your show, and then I recalled that I did see. I believe that you did a lot of film journalism, so I didn't follow that much, but I did see your recent Vinod Kamli interview, and so then I could put two and two together, and so yeah, look forward to having this chat with you.
Thank you, Nikhil. Let's start from your recent visit to Pakistan.
Hmm.
I guess you have had a terrific trip. And tell us what exactly did you feel when you were going from your house, when you landed there, what all happened there?
So, I mean, I, when I got the visa, I was very excited. And I'll tell you why, because I'd always wanted to visit Pakistan for two reasons primarily. One, because as a cricket journalist, you'd want to cover all the test playing nations and you want to cover cricket from all the test playing nations. And I had done all, including countries like Zimbabwe and West Indies and New Zealand, not very frequented countries. But because I've been doing this for 2 decades, I had the opportunity to go there. And similarly, just as as a cricket journalist, your resume won't be complete if you've not covered a game at Lords or MCG or ARG. So similarly, I wanted to be at Gaddafi Stadium or National Stadium in Karachi, and uh, you know because we grew up watching a lot of matches take place there as well, and so fascination for all cricket grounds. But it just so happened that I never had the chance to go to Pakistan. 2004 is when the Indian team went. I had got my accreditation and everything, and I was supposed to travel. But then there were only very limited visas that were being given because there was such huge demand. So then they restricted it to one reporter per channel. And we were planning to send two. And then one of my colleagues went and I could not go, even though my accreditation and all had come through. But at that time, I didn't feel very bad because I was like, okay, this tour is not happening. I'll go for another tour. Uh, Similar thing happened in 2006. 2008 is when I was supposed to go for the Champions Trophy, and that got cancelled last moment. And then there was no cricket that happened in Pakistan. And uh, little did I know that something that I thought was very obvious I would go and cover sometime just became a distant dream. And then this opportunity came where they were hosting the Champions Trophy, and we often cover games of not just the Indian team but other teams as well in the past as well for a big tournament. And so we planned it in this way that I'll go and cover that. And secondly, the second reason that I wanted to go is because I grew up listening to stories. I'm a Punjabi from both my paternal and maternal side, and both of them actually their ancestral villages were in that Punjab, which became Pakistan after independence. So I grew up with my grandparents narrating story, both sets of my grandparents narrating story, my parents narrating stories. So I always wanted to visit, and so that's why when this opportunity came by, I was very excited. I wasn't nervous at all. I'd say that yes, there was a bit of nervousness of the unknown because you've never been there, and the kind of stories that you hear, and the political climate at the moment, and not too many Indians are going there. So yeah, there was a bit of trepidation on that account. But on the whole, if I had to sum up my sentiment, it was of excitement as a cricket journalist and as also someone whose roots were from that side of the border. So yeah, I was pretty excited to be heading there.
So you think Pakistan could have done better when you were there and, the team was falling apart? I mean,
Mm.
whether it was Babar, whether it was Shaheen, everybody was just falling apart. You thought that it could have done better. What was the sentiment that you gathered from the public there also about their performance?
See, I mean, one thing that I'll give credit to in Pakistan, I think they have a great sense of humor. They are brutal with their team. Sometime for the good, sometime for not good of the team, because sometimes I think that criticism goes overboard, and I think it does put a lot of pressure on the Pakistan team. So on the whole, of course, the common sentiment was there of disappointment, as it should be, because it's a tournament that they're hosting after such a long time, and then they get knocked out in the first round. Could they have done better? Sure, they could have. But I mean, truth be told, heart of heart, even the most staunchest of Pakistani supporter would know that they were no match to the teams in their group or the top teams in the world. They did show glimpses of a bit of a resurgence. When they knocked India out of the 2021 T20 World Cup that took place and they reached the semis of that T20 World Cup. Then in the T20 World Cup, they reached the final the next year in 2022. I was there in Melbourne covering that final too. But I think that happened because there was some sort of stability in Pakistan cricket. Babar was the captain, and whether people on the outside liked it or not, he went with the players that he trusted in. And I think that is the right way to run cricket anywhere in the world. You have to believe in whoever you make as a leader, and you have to allow them to then uh, you know go with their set plans. That's the only secret to success, even for the Indian team. You'll see Indian teams have done well when you've had a stable captain and you've allowed him to execute his plan. So you may have short term deficiencies, but long term you always get good results. And I think post that loss in the final and the pressure that was put in Asia Cup when they went for, and then removing of the captaincy, I think Pakistan went back to that state which they usually like to be in, which is a state of chaos, and they were in that. And I think from there on there has been a bit of a downhill. So I mean, as I said, hard about everyone knew that the team is not the same. And I mean, again, if I had to do a deep dive into Pakistan cricket, this was bound to happen. You could have had few good results here and there, but Pakistan cricket has been suffering for a long time. I think after those 2008 terror attack, when teams stopped going to play in Pakistan, that will take a country back, right? Imagine top international teams not coming to tour the country, and that has a major effect because you're playing on different pitches which are not to your strength. You're playing in Dubai, which became your home ground. Pitches are not to your liking. You are used to producing fast bowlers, but if you're going to have home pitches there, how will you produce those fast bowlers? Batsmanship, if they had previous batters like Miadad and Zahir Abbas and Saeed Anwars and so on and so forth, how will they then be there if you're not playing on your true home pitches? So that home advantage is gone. Plus the next generation, and this is what I say. So imagine from that period of a good period of a decade, from 2008 onwards, in fact more than a decade, when you didn't have cricket at home, there's a full generation that you've lost. Because how is it that you and I fell in love with cricket? I mean, I fell in love with cricket, but my first memory where I just really embraced the game is when my father took me to watch a live match. Yeah, I went to the Eden Gardens. That was my first match that I saw in '89. It was between Pakistan and West Indies, and from there on, just as a gully cricketer, your love for the sport increased because when you saw real top players play on the ground, and that's how it happened. So imagine a whole generation was lost of not seeing live cricket or cricket happen in their country. So now you will have the repercussion, right? Where will the next talent come from? How many kids would have not gotten hooked to cricket as they should have? Yes, you have academies. Yes, you have school cricket. It will never be the same if you're not having. So I think that I mean, there are various factors I could list. Pakistani players not playing in the IPL. I think India has benefited greatly from the IPL, and while the results will not show immediately, but not playing in the IPL from whatever 2009-10 onwards to now will make a huge difference. Where you're not playing in the best league in the world, which where India benefits. So all of those factors put together have dented Pakistan cricket, and there's no quick fix solution. You can get players, they can have good result here and there, but for any cricket team to be very good, you need to have a great amount of bench strength. You need to have players pushing the players that are there in the team, like it's happening in India at the moment. For you can have three different teams in three different formats playing simultaneously for India, and all of them will be competitive. So I think Pakistan lost out on all of that. So basis that, getting knocked out in the first round of the Champions Trophy, clearly the Awam, as they call it there, was not happy. Which is why now you see so much love for Indian players, because everyone loves heroes, right? So Indian players are now celebrated more than Pakistani players, and Pakistani players have become a butt of jokes. So yeah, that's the sentiment that I saw there in Pakistan.
I want to ask you something related to the finale.
Mm.
There was no Pakistan representative
Yeah,
at the finale ceremony, and there was a lot of controversy over that.
yeah.
What's your take on it?
See, I mean, there should have been somebody from Pakistan definitely to give away the trophy. They were the host, but see, I think again, uh, the blame lies on both counts. So, firstly, Mr. Naqvi did not come, who is the head of PCB. Had he been there, I have no doubt in my mind that he would have been there as is protocol. He would have been there on the stage to give the trophy. Now, the controversy erupted from there that they had sent their COO, and if he is there, why can't he be there? But you got to remember that a CEO is an executive position and it's not a board member. He's not an office bearer, and he cannot then be equated with an office bearer. So had Mr. Naqvi been there, or if not him, maybe if they had a secretary or whatever, I do not understand the working of the PCB, but an office bearer, a vice president, or whatever they may have, came as a representative, maybe he or she would have been honored with that position on the dais to be giving the trophy. But so I'll give an example. Like, it's an ICC trophy, but the ICC CEO also wasn't there, because it's again an executive position. You can't be. BCCI has a GM, or at one point had a CEO. When there was any big trophy presentation, he was never there and cannot be there. So I don't think you can have that same equation. And what we got to know is that Mr. Naqvi wasn't well. So if he could have sent, I mean, there is more to it than meets the eye. Clearly, the two boards weren't on the same page, and they had a bit of a powwow while the whole arrangement of the Champions Trophy was happening, and there was a tug of war in terms of a power struggle. So maybe there is residue of that, and that's why the PCB representative didn't come. I don't know for sure, but even if Mr. Naqvi was not well, he could have sent an office bearer, a representative of the PCB. An executive position holder or an employee in that sense, in a paid position, cannot be equated. And yes, the New Zealand representative from the board was there, but because again he's an office bearer and they were the finalists, so he was there. And same way, the host could have been there. So I think this whole controversy is there, but there is merit in what eventually happened.
You had some fine points on Pakistan's, performance
Yeah.
sliding downward, but I'm especially intrigued by the fact that their three bowlers
Mm.
are not taking wickets. Now, they have been playing regularly. Maybe they have been playing less cricket compared to India or many other countries. But Firbi, how can the three of them lose the bite completely? And I'm talking about Shaheen, I'm talking about Naseem and Harris Roth. I mean,
I
Shaheen is known to take three
yeah.
wickets in his first 4 overs. It's a given. It was a given at that time.
Again, I mean, there are a few reasons for it. One, I think I have always felt that there were also condition specific bowlers. So Shaheen can do that damage provided he gets those kind of conditions. So if there are swinging conditions, that's when Shaheen has been a bit dangerous. Also, as I said, there has to be an evolution of a bowler, and backup. I think those are the two reasons. In fact, it's an interesting question, because when I was in Pakistan, I interviewed Mohammad Amir, and this is precisely the question I asked him, that it's okay that a team loses, gets out of the competition, and Pakistan has not been doing very well. And my question to him was exactly that when you're not doing well, you have to look for alternatives, right? But I still see Haris Raf, Shaheen Shah Afridi, Naseem Shah, they will still be there. Whether Pakistan gets knocked out of round one of Asia Cup, or they don't even make the next round of the 50 over World Cup in 2023, or get knocked out of the Champions Trophy, whatever happens, is the same bowler. So is there even a bench strength that exists? I mean, he was of the opinion that yes, there are bowlers, but they're not getting chances. There's Hasnain or Mohammad Wasim Jr. and all of them. They barely get chances and come. But my point is this, that honestly, and I was there, the fact of the matter is that the backup cupboard is bare. And I'll give an example with the Indian team also, right? Mohammad Siraj was on top of his game for some time ago. Now he's not there. So you have a Harshit Rana to come in. You had a Mukesh Kumar who was doing well for some time, but you see he's dipped in form. You've quickly replaced him. You got a Prasidh Krishna to come back. Prasidh Krishna was there earlier, but he lost form. He was so I think with fast bowlers it tends to happen. There is nobody who's as consistent. I mean, aside from a Jasprit Bumrah, when injury free can be a match win in every format. You've seen this shuffle in India as well. You've had bowlers who've really come up, and Avesh at one point was looking like he'll be the next guy, then had a dip in form, he's out. So I think you need that push. You need that huge uh, bunch of backup bowlers, especially in fast bowling, to keep covering that. And I think that's where Pakistan is lacking. And how is it that you evolve? That you need to be put under pressure. So if a Shaheen did not perform in a tournament or two, or you got knocked out without making the semi-final in the 2023 World Cup, he could have been changed. You bring someone else, maybe he goes back, evolves, and comes back. I give you an example of a Prasidh Krishna. He did that with India, right? He went back, got better, and he's come back into the team. It's happened with, let's say, Ishant Sharma, 100 test match all bowler who showed peaks, but there was this dip, he was out. Shami would take over alongside Bumrah and he'd be there. So, and when a player was injured, let's say Naseem Shah, for example, after injury, we've seen a lot of bowlers have a dip in form. But then you've had players to really come up. And this is what Pakistan used to have. They used to have loads of backup fast bowlers. So if one isn't doing well, you could go. So I think there are two reasons. One, that the ones that are there are not being pushed enough because of a lack of backup. I think that is a primary reason. And secondly, as I said, that you know. Pakistan cricket needed to play those years in on their pitches for the longest time. And I think that when you went to Dubai for that one decade and made that your home ground, I think that's also made a huge difference. I mean, even grassroots, I hear that tape ball cricket, which used to be so popular in Pakistan, has also taken a dip, which used to produce such good fast bowlers. I think it's taken a dip, and you don't see so many. Maybe I don't know if players are getting attracted to more of batsmanship, or those night tennis ball matches are happening where you're just playing with a regular tennis ball without the tape because you want to see sixes and fours. I don't know what the reason is, but while tape ball cricket is happening, it's not as prevalent as it used to be. So multiple factors. But again, if you ask me, I think you need a big bunch of fast bowlers to be pushing. Where you get them from, what kind of exposure they get, that will also make a huge difference. And then I go back to, why is it that India have that bunch? I go back to that IPL. A lot of them, before even they come to international cricket, have had that pressure, and IPL pressure is same as international cricket. So when you have that pressure defending 10 runs in the last over, and you do it multiple times against the best batter, so you have prepared now 10, 12 fast bowlers on a given day. One is out of form, you go out. I mean, can you imagine that you were even thinking of going ahead without a Mohammad Shami while he had made himself fit? But you're saying, no, I'm not seeing full fitness. And why could you do that? Because you had many other bowlers. You said, no problem. Till you gain 100% fitness, I will be okay. Can you imagine that with Pakistan? They will go with a Haris Rao, they will go with a Shaheen Shah Afridi, whether he's Naseem Shah, whether he's come back from injury, if he's 100% fit or not. I think those are the major factors why Pakistani bowling and Indian bowling is a huge difference. Uh, I was listening to Viv Richards in one of the podcasts recently, and he said that, I mean, it's not just with Pakistan. He was saying West Indies as well. He was saying, I was doing a test match commentary in the West Indies a few years ago with Sunny, and he's like, and I suddenly realized, when there was Bumrah, Ishant, and Shami bowling, and he's like, I'm seeing these three fast bowlers from India all cranking it up 140. He said, Sunny, can you imagine when you and I were playing, that Indians will have a bunch of, three, four fast bowlers, and West Indies will not have, even fast bowlers known. And he's saying, I'm doing this commentary, Sunny and I, both sitting, and I'm looking at that game where West Indian fast bowlers are, not even a patch on what the Indian fast bowlers are. And we're watching it. So, yeah, there has been a massive turnaround, I think, in Indian cricket per se.
But somehow, Nikhil, a part of this answer which you gave, I tend to disagree a little. When you said that the Indian fast bowling cupboard is quite full, if that is what you mean.
Mm.
But do you think Akashdeep and Prasidh Krishna possess that bite which Shami and Bumrah have? Let me put it this way. And secondly, I was personally very disappointed with the fact that we couldn't push bowlers like Umran Malik and Mayank Yadav. I really don't know what's happening with Mayank Yadav. Perhaps you can throw some light. I just read this morning that he started to bowl again. He's resistant to training. He's resistant to instructions. And Umran Malik also, I read Sten saying something about him that he was very promising, but has again fallen apart.
I mean, I think in both
And and
cases,
and coming back to the previous question, which if you can take it up first, yeah, do you really think that Prasidh Krishna or even Mukesh Kumar or Akashdeep l- have that sting as even perhaps Siraj did in his initial days? I don't know why he has also gone off the radar a little bit.
I think so. I mean, I think we were very unfair to Akashdeep, by the way. He didn't even start in the Australia series. You went with Harshit Rana for whatever reason. I think
Mm.
you should have gone with him. If you see the latter half of the series where he did get a lot of chances, he, I think, was probably the most unluckiest bowler of them all. Like when the ball was new, so many players and misses. And I think he needed a bit of mentorship. And I don't know for sure, but I heard Ravichandran Ashwin say that, when he was at that stage where Ashwin himself on the field felt that he's being so unlucky. On another day, he could have had a fifer and he wasn't. And then, because India were in a desperate situation, he said so many different sort of advices came his way that he got a bit scrambled in thinking what his go-to should have been. So, as potent as he was and was not getting wicket, then the advice that was coming from the rest of the team because you desperately needed wickets, he said threw him off, and that's great insight from someone who's on the field like Ashwin. So had he continued, so my point is, I think they need a bit of exposure. I think Prasidh Krishna, that was the South Africa tour, did not really perform, and I think that same pressure came on him, but made a decent comeback in the BGT. So because he became wiser, I think he was very one dimensional, has worked on it, come back, and has that looked better. Again, how will we know of a bowler till we give them a bit of consistent chances? I think we were unfair to Mukesh as well. One or two games he doesn't do well and then he's shunted out. And the problem could be that we have so many different options that we are being very impatient with this. What happened earlier when we saw this bunch of bowlers is that, Ishant probably didn't have the greatest start, but you stuck on with an Ishant because you were not having too many fast bowlers to look at. And so put your weight behind them and gave them a longer rope. I still feel, I mean, if you put an Avesh into the mix and you put a Prasidh Krishna or a Mukesh or an Akashdeep and give them a consistent run, I don't see that there should be an issue. Yes, you need that express pace, and for which I'll come back to both Mayank and Umran. I think I agree with you that Umran could have been handled a bit better. I think again the problem was you were impatient with him. One match I remember Ireland got hit for a six or something and went for 12, 13 runs in over, never gets another over. How will you make a bowler when you, especially an express bowler, till you give him that free run? So maybe that did damage to his confidence, and from there on never got a consistent. I can't remember him getting 4 overs in a T20 game if he went for a few. How do you back a bowler or make a bowler till you say, okay, fine, get hit? Like, you know, I was just seeing an interview with Mohit Sharma a few days ago. So, he said very interestingly, he said, मार से डर नहीं लगना चाहिए यार, मार के तो आदमी सीखता है. Because how has that happened? Because Mohit has played at the top level, then was out of favor, then made this comeback into the IPL
Yeah,
where
and
he's
he's the coolest bowler in the final
correct.
over.
So how did that happen? It happened with maturity, where you reach the stage, you realize, yeah, that fear of getting hit, you have to throw it out. You learn and you become more experimental when you get. Similar with Harshal. I read his story. He came initially, was scared to get hit, and then start panicking. And you made him a bowler when he realized that it's okay to get hit. It's those few balls that get you wicket or you deceive a batter. So you could, 80% of the game can go to the batter. If I get 20%, I'll come out on top. So that maturity happened. And same, I think, with Umran or someone, if you really groom them in that way and allowed them to get hit, it's okay, and work with their pace, they could have been better. Unfortunately, now, because of that express pace, and tends to happen with a lot of fast bowlers happen around the world, both Mayank and Umran have been prone to injuries. Umran ruled out of this IPL now, so tells you that the injury has started to surface. And I mean, it's happening with Jasprit Bumrah. Fingers crossed, but what I'm hearing, I don't know what the long-term future of a Jasprit Bumrah is going to be. We can see him in a short term. So that is happening with fast bowlers. Fortunately, unfortunately, that's another debate we can get into as to why so many injuries are happening. Why is it that those fast bowlers in the past, like a Kapil Dev and Imran Khan, could bowl 30, 35 overs in a day of a test match and keep bowling consistently, but why is it not happening now? That's a different debate, that we can go on. But the truth of the matter is that injuries are happening. So you may reach a state where the churn will be quicker. That's why I'm saying you need to have a big reservoir of fast bowlers. So if there are injuries, issues, or there is a big churn, you keep replacing them with bowlers and just have faith in them. I mean, getting hit. That's why I think a captain like Dhoni makes a huge difference, right? Why is it a bowler who goes to Chennai does well, everywhere else he's not? Because I hear from bowlers that have played against MS Dhoni who say one very simple thing, and it's such a simple thing, but I don't think everyone practices, where Dhoni has told his bowler, it's okay to get hit. Again, he says that I don't have a problem with you getting hit. The only time I'll have a problem is if I have a plan in place and you're not doing it to that if you've kept a leg side field for a batter and I placed the field like that and then you're bowling outside the off stump, then I'm going to be angry. You bowl to that plan and he hits you for five sixes in a row, no issues. We've gone with the plan. He's been one better on the day. But at least don't deviate from what you're planning. If you've decided, okay, you're going to choke him in the leg side and you're going to bowl outside off stump, and then he finds a way to hit you out from outside the off stump also by playing reverse hits or whatever, that's the batter at a high level. Okay, no problem. And he said that, bowler saying this, that he'll never scream at you if you follow the plan, bowl to your field, you get hit for six sixes and no issue. But yeah, if you do not follow the plan and even get for 1 6, he might get angry. So I think if you uncomplicate things, you have captains like that who trust you, who enjoy some good pace, back you for that X factor. Three no good matches, but one match you win with the ball. That's sort of a leader. Then I think you can change. But you will, I guess, with the truth is that with so many injuries happening, and it's a reality. I don't think with so many trainers in place, doctors in place, biomechanics, everything in place, just still injuries are happening. So you'll need to have a big fat cupboard and keep replacing bowlers. I think that's the only option.
You made a very interesting point. Harshit Rana was played ahead of Akashdeep,
Hmm.
and that is believed to be Gambhir's decision. Is it because that Harshit is Gambhir's favorite, as it is being said?
Okay, so I mean, I can't say that with certainty. I think Gautam Gambhir is the only person who can answer that, whether it's true or not, because I also learned one thing. Sometimes we do make these connections, and I'm also guilty of that. Quite often, as journalists, we do that. And later in life, I've learned that I couldn't have been further away from the truth. It's happened in the past with me, and so again, we do look at these connections and proximity. That's the first thing. So I can't say with certainty if that's the thing. Secondly, there's no harm in having personal favorites. I think cricket runs on personal favorite. Imran Khan saw potential in Wasim Akram. He became his personal favorite. He couldn't care less, played him, and nothing succeeds like success. It turned out great move. So that's how it works. Captains, for example, I give you an example of MS Dhoni, who's one of the sharpest captains in white ball cricket we've had. He had his personal favorites where he played a few players. I don't even have to quote the name. Maybe they played with him in the franchise together. He backed them. But what happened? That produced results. So sometimes it's not a bad thing. So I give an example. If you were a captain of a team, I'm sure your selection of 11 will be different to if I was a captain of a team. And what will happen is that we may pick a certain player, based on your liking. I may pick a player based on that liking. But what I often tell people, it's not necessary that you picked a left arm spinner and I went with a leg spinner. It's not necessary that you pick the left arm spinner because he comes and gives you big Diwali presents on Diwali or anything like that. No, because maybe you saw potential in him much more than I saw, or I saw in a leggy more than that. That could be based on various factors. Maybe I'm weak against leg spin as a batter, and we both are batters, and you struggle against left arm spin. So this fascination that I'll take a left arm spin and I'll go with a leg spinner. It happens, right? Sometimes it is also based on potential. I mean, I tell you, as casual fans, there could have been a situation where you saw a youngster in an IPL game and you said he's the next big thing. 50% of the time you may have got it right, and you may have picked a young player before anybody did, and he went on to become a star. And we tell with a lot of pride to all our friends that, you know what, when he came, he played that first game, that's the day I said that he will be the guy, and we got it right. There are also times where we may have picked a youngster or two and said he's the next big thing, and he just faded away. He never lived up to potential. We tend to forget that. So it's cricket from the eyes of you and I, which is different, and each of us see the game very differently. So there's no harm, as I often said, whether it's a captain or a coach to have personal favorites. And I don't think any captain or coach really wants to lose. He goes with his personal favorite because he believes more than you and I that Harshit Rana is the guy to do it. I may believe no, it was Akashdeep who is the guy to do it, and I have my own reasons for it anyway. And it could be so. I would not agree. I mean, I said it on record. People didn't like it that I wouldn't even gone ahead with a Nitish Reddy. You only played him because he was giving you a bowling option. But I'm sorry.
I still feel the same, and I'm vocal
Uh,
about it. He
there,
scored
there.
100, but after that there were zeros.
Correct. And I'm saying even before that, you picked him because he could bowl. But my point is then and I made that comparison. I said, he's as good a bowler, a medium pacer, as Manas Labuschagne is for Australia. But will Australia pick Manas because he can give you 4 overs with the ball? And in fact, he was bowling quicker than Nitish Reddy. I saw him bowl those, overs. He was touching 140. But that doesn't mean that he's going to be a wicket-taking bowler. No offense to Nitish Reddy. I think he's a great cricketer. I think he'll make a great cricketer for the future. But I would have thought that Test cricket conventional logic would dictate you go with an out and out batter or an out and out bowler who could on a given day win you a game rather than take bits and pieces cricketers which work well in white ball and especially T20 doesn't work in Test cricket. So again, I did not see that belief. And then he went and got the 100, so they will be praised. So again, I don't know whether it was a personal choice. It could have been a personal choice, but I'm sure it was backed by cricketing logic rather than he plays with a franchise. The only thing that I was more bothered about in Harshit Rana, uh, more than his selection, which as I said could be on cricketing merit, was that he remained an uncapped player till the IPL auctions happened. So he could then be retained, and he was in the squad but not played. As soon as the IPL auction happens, then he gets to play for India and becomes a capped player. So then his retention changes. That I thought was far more blatant than his selection in the Test team.
You said something about giving gifts and all. Do you think players give gifts to management and captains?
No, would not work because I don't think it works at the international level because I think management and captain and everyone else is so well paid that gifts make no difference. Also, I think the management realizes and the captain realizes that the biggest gift that anyone can give them is winning because their jobs are on the line. Now with so much scrutiny, if you don't win, it could happen in the 90s and 80s where you could, like they say in Pakistan, you could fit a parchi player here and there without anyone even raising an eyebrow because your captaincy could run for very long and would not make too much of a difference to the team. Now with the amount of scrutiny, I don't think any of that is possible. I think again, as I said, we criticize the selection of Indian team in the Australian tour. I still go by it. But at no point, and I'll tell you this with great degree of certainty because I've spoken to people in and around the team. Gautam Gambhir and Rohit Sharma, for whatever criticism came their way for selection during the Australian tour, both these people have their heart at the right place. So let me put it this: I don't think at any time they've compromised on India not doing well. And I speak of both Gautam Gambhir and Rohit Sharma, and I'm not saying it based on my experience. Even with people around them, even with people who may not be their biggest fans, honestly, I'm telling you, they still admit that not at any point they're so passionate about what is going to happen and they're so passionate about India winning that all the time the decision they are making with one goal in mind that India must win at the end of the day. That's there. Yes, they may be faltering in those decisions and you may not agree with that. But I don't think at any point there is any sort of mischief or anything in their thought process or selection. Both people genuinely will go out of their way to ensure that India always are winning and have that edge. And I've experienced that personally with these two gentlemen, and it's only been reinforced when I've spoken to a few people in and around the Indian team. So that is there, but yeah, we could still disagree with the decision that they may have taken.
Yeah, but when we are journalists, we have to give opinions. And I want to ask
Yes.
you if you have given an opinion
Uh,
on someone and has it landed you into any trouble with any cricketer? मैं निखिल को इंटरव्यू नहीं दूंगा, मुझे
oh,
निखिल से बात नहीं करनी है,
I've,
एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा.
I may have felt like that, but nobody's really told me ever on the face. Never. I have been I have been critical of a lot of players, but nobody has really told me whether they've kept it in their mind or not. I don't know, but nobody's really come out and said. There have been a couple of occasions where I have got a phone call from a cricketer that this has happened, uh, but then that's been corrected, and at one point what I had said got lost in translation, and then there's a sub editor who may have misquoted what even I told him because I was on the field, and the said cricketer saw it and called me because my byline had gone, and I agreed to what he had said, and I think it what was written was wrong, but as I said, it got lost in translation. I had corrected that. There was another time where a cricketer had said that I said such and such thing, to which I explained that, listen, I did say that and I stand by it, but I also said this, and there is merit in both, and on that occasion he kind of agreed, and I'm great friends with both those cricketers. In the current regime, I may have felt that a player may not have liked what I've said. Can I be honest? I think I've been, as I just praised MS Dhoni while he was there, on a lot of occasions, very critical of him as captain as well. And I met him a few times after that, but he's never brought that up. I'm sure he knows about it. He's never brought it up. And meets me just as as someone who knew him when he made his debut. I mean, I covered his debut game as well in Bangladesh. So since then, so I think players somewhere. I think players also realize that if your criticism is not a personal attack on what they are as people or what they are doing in their personal life, or based on I think they can make through whether there's genuine hatred for a person, or whether your criticism is based on a cricketing logic, which you could disagree. So I think players also realize that yes, they may have done something which they thought was right, but I disagreed and I wrote about it, and it's fine. That's okay. I think players really get upset when you make a personal attack on them. That's never happened with me. With a cricketer, it's happened with a BCCI president. I must tell you, he's no more in Jagmohan Dalmia, and he once, and that wasn't a personal attack that I made. It was a personal attack that I made by one of the guests, a regular panelist that we would have on the show, and he did tell me that you can criticize in decisions that I had taken, but your panelist goes on talking about my family and things like that. Think that's justified, and I try to tell him that but sir, I agree, but it's not me who's making that comment. He said, doesn't matter, you're the host of the show, you have very well within your right to correct him and say that stick to cricket, and I agreed with him, and he was right. I should have been a bit more careful as a host at that time to ensure that the host or the panelist did not have a free platform to say anything he wanted. I could have corrected him. So yes, not a player, but I remember a BCCI president, Jagmohan Dalmia, did say that to me, and he was right. And from there on, I was mindful that even if I'm not only responsible from what I say, but also my panelists, I have to be ensuring that it remains to cricket and doesn't go beyond that. Yeah, that's happened.
But I see a lot of commentators at least. I mean, they're just in the same boat as us journalists, having become cheerleaders in absolute sense today. Is it because it happened after the Harsha Bhogle controversy where, Dhoni didn't like something, Mr. Bachchan didn't like something that he said? Or did it happen after Michael Holding said, I don't want to, comment or do the commentary at all? ये पूरा cheerleader system बन चुका है. I'm not saying everybody. Of course not. There are people who say it in their own exciting way. There are people who say it very bluntly. By and large, the system has become very, very, buoyant about. I mean, some of them even announce the result before the match is over.
True, true. And I'll tell you what has happened because of that. See, I'll tell you, I agree with you, firstly, that it does exist. And there are multiple reasons for that. Okay, let me list out the reasons first. One reason is that, unlike any other board in the world, India is the only country where the production of the cricket matches is owned by the board itself. So board produces it. Nowhere else does it happen. Let's say you're in England and Sky has the rights. Sky produces the commentary, and they're free to do what they want to. If you're in Australia, Channel 7, Channel 9, whoever's got the right, they will produce, and their commentary man. In India, all cricket matches in India are produced by BCCI. So BCCI hires commentators, and then BCCI. Now, I'm not saying that there is any sort of diktat, though I'll come to that as well. But then it is going to be tough for you to be criticizing your employees, or by that extension criticizing a team that's run by your employers, because BCCI ends up paying your paycheck as comment. So that's a flawed thing. Secondly, this is not an unknown thing, and I in fact did that interview long time ago. It's still there online. I did a session at the HT Summit a few years ago where there was Ian Chappell on that panel. And Ian Chappell was very candid and asked him this question. And if you remember, Ian Chappell refused a commentary stint in India during a Border Gavaskar Trophy because they sent him a list of do's and don'ts. That you can not criticize selection, India selection, you can't do this, that, and he refused. So it's up to the players now to take that call. If there is a diktat of sort, if that still exists, I don't know. But Ian Chappell is on record, and I did that session where he said this sort of a diktat exists. Player is free to choose. But then you look at the player's point of view. His livelihood after retirement probably is commentary. Now, what is he to do? He has two options: either not to do commentary or to do commentary on a sport that he loves. So, firstly, there's this system of board running the production. I think that's flawed. If that goes out, then you can have independent comment. That's one of the reason why this happened. The second reason is that the fan following now that you have in India, and I'm sorry to say, it's now bordering on extreme fan base, jingoism sort of fan following, where their player can never be wrong. So, you know, uh, growing up, I was a fan of a Gavaskar or a Kapil Dev or Mohammad Azharuddin or a Sachin Tendulkar or a Saurav Gang, anyone. But there were days where I was critical of them. And I'm just talking about not as a journalist, but as a fan, right? Going to school at college. And I did not feel offended if, I may be a fan of Sachin, but if there was a friend of mine who pointed out a mistake about Sachin, I would not be offended with it. Or if I saw a television program where a journalist was critical, I would disagree with him, but I would not. Today, you reached a stage where there are these fan armies which do not allow you to say anything against a player. The fan wars. I mean, I can't even imagine this. You reached a stage where the Indian fans who are happy on a given day when Rohit Sharma fails because they're a fan of a certain player, or they
Yeah.
are happy that Virat Kohli fails because they're a fan of certain players, or
It's
I
this
mean,
Rohit versus Virat going on. Yeah.
yeah, but can you imagine? I mean, there would have been times where there was, and there was a they reached the stage where Rahul Dravid, Saurav Ganguly, Sachin Tendulkar, three of them had cult followings, right? And different sets of. And I know this. There was a time where I could be meeting a journalist or a fan who was a bigger fan of Dravid and would say, no, I think Dravid is a bigger match winner than Sachin Tendulkar. But at no point would he be wishing ill on a Sachin Tendulkar in a match, or will he be celebrating when Sachin Tendulkar got out? Never. He would still rate maybe Dravid higher than Sachin as a test player. Fair enough. But he would never celebrate a downfall of a Sachin Tendulkar. That would never happen. But it started happening now. Now, when that happens, what happens is it extends to the broadcaster. Broadcaster craves for numbers. So now he will then start celebrating a player because people love him and they celebrate. As soon as he starts criticizing them, they'll start hurling abuses. And in broadcasting also, there was competition. So they'll go to a different broadcaster. By that extension, this happens. This hero worshipping that
Okay, they'll
happens.
switch the channel, you mean?
Yeah, they would switch the channel. Yeah, they would not, because I remember there was a stage where there were multiple broadcasters. Now you will go back to having the same broadcaster. But what will they do? Broadcaster also has to do pre-show, mid-show, post-show. They won't see the pre, mid, post because they say, oh, you have this bias against this player and we won't watch it. You are X and Y Z hater. I don't know. Funny thing is, like, I'll just tell you, as a journalist, sometime on social media, there have been days I've been critical of Rohit, been days were critical of Virat. The day I'm critical of Virat, I get branded as Rohit's PR, a Virat hater. The day I'm critical of Rohit, then I get branded as Virat lover and Rohit hater, and it just keeps going
But
on. I
shouldn't
mean,
we
nobody
ignore
looks at it
this? Shouldn't
objectively.
shouldn't we learn to ignore this? I mean,
Yeah, yeah, I have. I do.
no,
But
I mean even the commentators.
exactly my point. Now they should. But then, as I said, there are many things, right? There is this your paycheck coming uh from the board that's running. This happening.
So the board gets rattled when the social media tempo increases.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't know whether a diktat is existing now. Maybe it is not. But
That would
then,
be the silliest thing to happen.
yeah, yeah. But my point is then how critical can you be of the board? Let's say you're not happy with the call that if I mean giving an example, will somebody come and criticize? Let's say there was a diktat that has now come. Wives cannot be there, and that's okay. You can agree with it, disagree with it, but that's a decision taken by the board. can a commentator now come out and say openly that no, board is wrong? Why don't you allow? It's not happening. It's, player commentators are still critical of players. They can be about an X player or a Y player, but board, I do not see that much happening. And correct me if I'm wrong. You don't see that happening, which is why what has happened is now, why is it that there is this whole YouTube revolution? Why is it that now you have independent YouTubers, journalists, or just casual fans who've started YouTube channel? They've started to garner more numbers than maybe a broadcast piece that is put together on the same platform as YouTube, because people have realized that these are sanitized conversations, and they're not really getting an unfiltered version of what a player may want to say, or what a cricketer may want to say, a former cricketer may want to say, and then they go to another YouTuber or a journalist or whatever, and then see he's being honest, he's being unfiltered. And so they've now started garnering that kind of numbers, because end of the day, I think the viewer also realizes that they want clear, unfiltered, honest opinions, which they think a player might have, but is reluctant to do it on a public platform for whatever fear.
That reminds me of Ashwin. Why do you think he retired? Do you know the inside story? What
No,
happened in
no,
Australia?
unfortunately, I don't. But even, and I don't think I can be too further away from the truth. And I'm only hazarding a guess. I'm sure it wouldn't have been easy for an Ashwin to carry on where he was. Then I go back to that selection where you have started corrupting, and I think that's the right word, corrupting test match mentality with the white ball cricket mentality, where you started taking any bowler who could bat a bit. He competed all his life with a Jadeja in overseas conditions because Jadeja could give you something with batting. Not to take anything away from Jadeja, the spinner. I think he's been very good as well. But obviously, you know that because Jadeja gave you a bit more with the bat than an Ashwin, he was preferred when you were playing one spinner. Then you reached a state where you're now going with two spinner. Then also you're saying, okay, I'll now go with another second spinner in a Akshar or a Washington Sundar who can now give me in batting. Then how does an out and out spinner play? And no other country does that. I'm sure if I don't blame him. If I was Ashwin, I would be done with it. And how much more humiliation can you take? It happened from the WTC onwards, where you assure him it will happen, and you go to a BGT sort of a tour. You want to exert. I mean, Australia were playing Nathan Lyon. He wasn't picking wickets, but if they were going with one spinner, they were going with Nathan Lyon. They didn't say Travis Head can also bowl off spin, and he's a better batter. So I'll just play Travis Head as my off spinner, and I will remove Nathan Lyon. They don't do that. Nobody else does that. You're out and out. Your number one spinner has to do it. And I don't think there was any debate that if I had to ask you, the best number one test spinner in the country was Ashwin, but he's not getting a chance first, not even as a second spinner. Then he realized now he's not even the third spinner. There are two spinners ahead of him because they can bat. And he decided to retire. I mean, he could have done it at the end of the tour. I think that's the only thing that he could have done when things really quietened down. He came back. But it also then tells you the kind of things that he must have been going through, that he took that call to retire. Clearly, and I don't blame him. I'll go so far as to say that if I was in Ashwin's place, and oftentimes I make comments, I try and put myself in the player's situation, because it's very easy to sit on the outside, but try and put yourself. I'll go so far as to say if I was in Ashwin's place, I probably would have quit much earlier, saying, okay, fine. If this is how you're going to run the test team, then I'm surplus to your requirement. Then I might as well focus my energies on somewhere else where I get peace. But at the end of the day, you and I work too. I go to my office and I often tell people, if I go to my office, I need a good working environment. I need a place which will allow me to do my job. That's it. That's all one craves for. It's not so much the money or the designation or what car you drive or whatever. It's going to a place where they respect you and allow you to do your work in a good environment. That's all anyone who works in whatever field, that's all we crave for. Everything else is there, but it's secondary. This is the first thing. And if that is not there, he decided to quit. I don't blame him. And I think he's doing a fine job as an analyst. What I love about him is that he doesn't mince his word. And that's why I go to that point that when you realize that every opinion that you're going to get from the broadcaster is going to be sanitized, then you'll head to people who give an unfiltered opinion, and which is why he's so successful in the podcast that he does.
One incident I remember recently when I read
Mm.
that Rohit complained about Gavaskar, who had criticized him. Is that true?
Oh, no, no, not that I know of.
In the Border Gavaskar Trophy?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. And if that had been the case, then Mr. Gavaskar would have been very guarded in the
Subsequent.
Champions Trophy. But he was as vocal as ever. If he saw something wrong, he said it. If he didn't, I mean, I'll tell you honestly. I again, if that criticism made a huge difference, then he would have been overtly careful in his opinion on Rohit Sharma. But I'll give you this example. I did ask him after the Champions Trophy was won whether Rohit should continue and this team should continue or the seniors should continue, and he was very open. He said, why is it that we, uh, I mean, he didn't say it in as many words. He said, why is it that we cannot have the next bunch? The next bunch is also ready. You won't know till you see them. And he was quite open about it. So
Hmm.
while he praised Rohit for his captaincy, the Champions Trophy, which again, if you're being objective, you have to mention that, right? You could be the biggest Rohit Sharma hater wherever you are, but can you take away from the fact that he's been outstanding as captain of the Champions Trophy? You cannot. And he was, and he did praise him a lot for that captaincy. But that didn't change his opinion as to say, like, personally, I felt that Rohit should continue till 2027. But I could clearly gauge from his answer that his opinion is that now is the right time. You need to change. He's done very well. He's an outstanding captain. Now is the time to change the baton because you have 2 years for the next ODI World Cup. Give that much time to the new captain. And there are many options. And so that's the feeling I got from him. So I don't think that, firstly, whatever little I know of Rohit, I don't think he's the kind of guy who will go out and complain. He's taken worse criticism, that has come his way, and he still remains, as candid. I was there at the um, team announcement of the Champions Trophy. I went to Bombay to cover that, and before that press conference started, the mic was on, and he was actually speaking to Ajit, and he said he didn't realize that the broadcaster had already started beaming in, and he was like telling Ajit in that clip that वो players का यार वो that family and all has been banned, यार this is not done, everyone is calling me, all players are calling me कि as captain you go speak to the board, यार why. And he mentioned that, and the mic picked it up, and social media, in 2 3 seconds it was on the internet. And so he didn't realize after the press conference got over. I told him that, be careful next time, the mic's always on. He's like, "Kya yaar, come on, this to you guys shouldn't pick up now. You should have some sort of this thing ki, the presser has not started. I'm speaking someone in pride." But he was not overtly bothered. That's what I'm saying. Someone who even allowed that, ki, "Theek hai yaar, I said it. It's been caught by camera. It's been caught by camera. What can I do?" In fact, that press conference got over and he said, अच्छा खत्म हो गई सर बड़ी ठंडी थी इज दैट आई थॉट आफ्टर Border Gavaskar you guys will like kill me with your questions, attack me, and but this was very okay, you didn't attack me much. So I mean, for a guy
बट
who's as chill
जर्नलिस्ट भी तो ठंडे हो गए ना यार.
हाँ नहीं उसमें क्या था उसको लगा कि बड़ी अभी उसको इफ यू रिमेंबर वो which press conference was that New Zealand when India lost at home. So he comes into the press conference and the first thing he says is चलो तीर चलाओ so he was ready for
The
uh,
arrows.
the
The
arrows.
sharp pointed questions.
And he did get fiery questions on that occasion because that was unprecedented, right? To lose 3-0 to New Zealand at home. So I'm not too sure did he complain. And even if he did, I don't think it really made a difference to Mr. Gavaskar's opinion. He was as candid as before.
Do you think Rohit should continue as captain and be there for the test matches as a captain also, the upcoming England series?
So I have two different opinions. I think, and because people are split on Rohit, the captain in white ball and test matches both. If you ask me, Rohit should continue till 2027 World Cup as your white ball captain because I think he's phenomenal as a captain and as a batter as well. He's ahead of the curve in white
Hmm.
ball batting. He showed in the 2023 World Cup. So age is just a number. I'm not even looking at age. And I think even fitness wise, there's so much debate about his fitness. But I think fitness, cricket fitness and marathon running fitness are two different things. If he can bat there and give you quick fire 70s and feel in the ring and be the captain that he is, I don't think he's a liability. I think he's a big asset for the team. And so he should be there. If you have a captain like that who can get you a 50 over crown, why will I want to remove and experiment with someone else and a batter like him? So 2027 World Cup, I definitely want to see him. But in Test cricket, I'm not sure. I think why is because there has, for two reasons. One, a WTC cycle has ended. What are you going to achieve in that England tour? If you want to make a transition, that transition should happen now. You go with a young captain from the England tour onwards, and you take the baton forward. I think the time has come for that baton to go forward. And secondly, and This I speak of at the risk of being criticized. This I speak for both Rohit and Virat. As you know, test matches are a different kettle of fish. Even the best of the names, once you lose it, it's very tough to get back into form. And I'm not saying it in hindsight. Even when they were failing in test matches, I'd said it on that occasion that come the ODIs, Rohit and Virat both will fire. They'll get you runs. You know, they have that experience. They understand that format so well, and they're such experienced player that they will get you run. But test match cricket doesn't wait for anyone. The red moving ball is a different kettle of fish. Even the greatest of them all reached a stage from where they found it tough, to negotiate it. The powers, your humanly powers sometimes cannot. Your mind says you can, but then the body does not fall in line. And so I see both Rohit and Virat never reach the peak of test match cricket that they had reached a few years ago. And if that is going to be the case, where runs are not going to come with the bat, and it's a start of a new cycle, I think now is the right time. And why I also says that you have enough people waiting in the wings who did well. Sarfraz did well. He's averaging 55 plus in test match cricket. And if you're not going to, okay, he may have a great future, he may not have a great future, I don't know, but we'll only know till he plays, right? He's played a few test matches, averaging 55. You need to give him a chance now. You've taken a Jurel. You need to give him a consistent run now. You had an Abhimanyu Ishwaran who keeps getting you runs, gets selected as an opener, but you will still not play him and get somebody. When are these players going to get a chance? I'm not saying they are future greats. I don't know. But give them 8, 9, 10 test matches and let us know whether they are the next players or not, and or you have to look at somebody else. But you have to start. So in test match cricket, if you ask me, I would personally want to see a newer team, a new captain. The young players that I just spoke of, Devdutt Padikkal also hasn't got consistent chances despite doing well in the. Play them the England series. Give them 4 or 5 test matches. Let me see if they are made up of that material to succeed. If not, fine, you go for someone else. But now is the transition time. So yeah, test team. I want to see a new team with a new captain.
So, who is your best bet to take over as Test captain?
Rishabh Pant. I'd go with a Rishabh Pant. I know there are other contenders. There could be a KL Rahul who's captain India before. Did decently well in South Africa, I remember, but I think he's still not guaranteed a spot in the test team. Yes, he's done well in the recent past, but again, mixed bag. So I don't know what the long term future is. And he'll start, of course, in England too. But I wouldn't want to make him the captain. Shubman has been very good in home conditions in test matches, but Shubman, the overseas player, the jury is still out. I hope he succeeds. He does show a lot of talent. But if I'm not 100% sure, then I don't see him taking the reins. I think the one guy who's definitely with your eyes closed, a test match starter for India has to be Rishabh Pant. He's done well in that format. I agree that he didn't start with the ODI because you had a KL who could do that job. And Rishabh's number in ODI aren't that impressive. But in test match, he's a certified legend. He's a very good captain in whatever I've seen of him in the IPL. I think he has a sharp cricketing brain. And he's a 100% starter. So Rishabh Pant uh, could be my captaincy contender. There could be another contender in Shreyas Iyer, but for that, Shreyas now has to re-establish himself in Test match cricket. He was there, but then he lost out with that whole injury, and then the whole controversy that happened where he was reluctant to play Ranji Trophy. And I think the selectors did the right thing by ignoring him from the team. So he'll have to start from scratch to make a return to the Test team, get a few runs, and then could be looked at. But right now, immediate future, Rishabh Pant is my Test captain.
Do you think it is justified to have given him 27 crores for the LST captaincy?
Yeah, IPL economics, are, are a different debate. They run based on supply and demand. So I don't look at that absolute number so much. I don't think we should equate the money in IPL on the potential of a player. Having said that, because I'm just looking at the trend, if everyone is going, if Iyer is going for 20 plus crore, or KL is going for good money, then on that scale, yeah, Rishabh is worth 27. Whether that scale itself is flawed is a different debate. I still feel that players are underpaid in the IPL, and I'll tell you why I say that. If you look at all parameters of the IPL or the IPL economics, television rating from where it started from 2008 to now has shot up, you know, 7x, 8x. The TV rights money has shot up 10x, 15x from where it started. The valuation of a team, they were sold for 200, 300 crores. They are now worth 10,000 crore. Everything has gone up in excess of 7x, 10x. It's only the player fee which has only gone up about 3x, 4x. 5 CR has now become 20 CR. So I think there is scope for player price also to go there. In terms of IPL economics, if everything is going 20x, why is it the player price has only gone 5x? So ideally, what everyone is making is far greater than what the player is making, and player is the real star. And I like that. So I think IPL is a hit because of the stars that come here. Why should just the team owners be beneficial? I'm saying you bought a team for 300 crore. It's at 10,000 crore today. Player that I was paying 7 crore in the first season. Why should he not get 20x if I'm making 20x? If not 20x, he should get 10x. So yeah, if tomorrow, let's say, it started happening in football where you've reached a stage where players did get paid that much money, but you've reached a stage where it's becoming untenable. Players cannot get that much salary because football clubs are making losses, right? Even the biggest football clubs are making losses. So then you have to work backwards and you say, listen, we're going to cut down on salary. As you're seeing, big clubs like Barcelona, Real Madrid, there is a fair play involved. They're having to let go of players with such high salaries. They'll have to do it. So eventually, it's a market correction, just as you had in real estate, in the stock market. I think it should happen in the IPL. Players will get paid much, but the day they get paid much more than the economy of the IPL, that's the day IPL will be doomed as well.
Let's end with a prediction. Who's
Yeah.
winning IPL 2025?
I'm liking how KKR is looking. I'm liking how SRH is looking. I'm even liking how Punjab Kings is actually looking. But the problem with Punjab is every year they look good on paper, but when they go on the
Yeah.
field, they just mess it up. But I like the squad that they've assembled. It's a good-looking squad. It is a title-winning squad, provided the off-field things come together for Punjab. I think that's quite, so. These three odd teams are looking good. CSK is also looking decent to me. Uh, but yeah, these are, I think, three, four teams that I
So
am.
choose one.
Choose one. I mean, if I just had to take a wild guess, uh, KKR maybe.
I don't know who will
What
win,
what is
but
your prediction?
I have wanted RCB and Punjab to win for a very long time.
Okay.
For a very long time. RCB because we all are fond of Virat Kohli,
Yeah.
and Punjab also has always been a very exciting team. On a given day,
Yeah.
it has created several upsets,
Yeah.
but somehow they never make it.
Who knows? Maybe
So
maybe
I
with
would
a.
be happy if one of these two win.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd be happy too. I'd be happy. See, first time winners is a great thing, and I just think everyone deserves. All of them put in hard work.
Hmm.
RCB, I mean, the fan following. I have to give credit to their fans. Yeah, despite not winning a title, they always every year come back. Their team, they deserve it. I'm just not too impressed with the RCB squad that they've put together, so I have my doubts about that. Punjab squad is good. Yeah, I'm liking the squad, and who knows? See, always the problem with them has been off-field issues, right, of management or how they run the team and the environment. Who knows? Maybe Ricky Ponting can create that environment. Now they've got him. Maybe he can and bring that environment into the team with Shreyas as captain. Who knows? It could happen for them now.
Chalo, we have created a triangle ring. Shah Rukh Khan, Preeti Zinta, and
Uh,
Virat Kohli. Let's hope that one of the three
yeah.
pulls it off.
Yep. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you, Nikhil. Thank you so much, and
No
looking forward
problem.
to talking to you again soon.